All right, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Take a seat, get comfortable, or stand. Or maybe you're listening to this at the gym, or maybe you're listening to this on the treadmill or outside while running, or when you're driving. Where do you usually listen to podcasts, Ryan? What environments?
I'll do some on a treadmill, so that's a go-to. Back when I was driving a lot in LA, it would be in the car.
Yeah, that's a good spot to do it. Um, Driving is big. I do a lot of driving podcasts. Stretching. I'll stretch, or you know what? Not stretching. I like to do my dynamic warm up and like movement prep for my workouts. I'll be listening to podcasts or just on my warm up for my run. Just kind of ease into it before the hardcore music comes in, the death metal. That's all I strictly listen to. Scandinavian death metal. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with that?
That one I can say, I usually tell people I listen to kind of a little bit of everything, but that is a new one for me. Scandinavian death metal, I'll have to look into.
Check it out. It's pretty good. They say it's like the Scandinavian countries are the most, they're the happiest people in the world. They've done studies on this. And the one reason why is because obviously the universal health care and the strong social safety nets and stuff like that. But also they love their metal music, the Scandinavians.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, I swear to God.
Do you really listen to Scandinavian death metal? Are you being serious?
I have. I don't actually listen to it. Yeah, but
Damn, I gotta check it out for real then.
I have before, and it does hit. But yeah, one of the big reasons is they're really into the metal, and it's very cathartic. So
yeah, I can see that.
Speaking of catheters, you know what's a good way to prevent getting catheters unless you absolutely need them?
What is it? Tell me about it, bro.
Building muscle, and that is today's topic. We're talking about muscle building for longevity, and specifically how muscle building will keep you out of the hospital, will keep you relatively injury-free, or if you do get injured, it's not a devastating thing. We're going to dive into some stories on how having some muscle has helped us in our lives and has made us like, wow, that's kind of nice. And not in the typical, like, oh, I look good at the beach kind of thing, but just things you don't necessarily think about until they pop up. And then we'll dive into just how we like to program when it comes to muscle building. So if you're unfamiliar with how you should be building muscle or what it takes, what the workouts look like, how many times a week, what exercises to pick, we're going to do all that stuff. I feel like I'm a generalist when it comes to muscle building, and Mr. Coach Ryan, that's a cool name. Mr. Coach Ryan,
Mr. Coach
Ryan, yeah, Mr. Coach, is a freaking expert. I can confidently say this guy has more certs than he knows what to do with. Like literally so many letters after his name when it comes to certifications that we can't even fit it on the website. Or the marketing people are like, it's too long. Just do the main ones. So we'll go into some advanced stuff, but let's freaking start it with a little tale. This happened actually a couple of months ago, and when we were talking about this podcast, I was like, you know what? I had a big aha moment, or just like an aha moment that continues to happen at least once a year for me. So I'll set the scene. I live in the Bay Area, and specifically in San Francisco, and my girlfriend lives in Oakland, which is across the bridge. And if you're from the Bay Area, you know that traversing the bridge anytime after 5 a.m. And before 9 p.m. is a pain in the ass. It's basically like a long distance relationship. It's going to take you at least an hour, more than likely 90 minutes to cross that bridge, especially getting from San Francisco to Oakland if you're driving. So on this particular day, I was helping my girlfriend move from one place in Oakland to another place. And we had done all the things you need to do when it comes to moving, packed a bunch of boxes, miscellaneous items in the car, schlepped it all the way over to the new spot, got everything out of the car, pretty tired at this point. Moving is freaking exhausting. We're ready to open that door and get the stuff in, and for whatever reason, we couldn't find the key to the entrance of the house, and unfortunately, it was a Saturday, because usually people move in on Saturdays or Sundays. So we could not call the landlord. He was unavailable. He was doing his thing, which props to him, like definitely send some boundaries. And my girlfriend was looking all over the place, couldn't really find the key anywhere, not the old spot. And I think we came to the conclusion that the key was probably back at my house in San Francisco. So what we had to probably do is drive the 2 hours to 90 minutes to get back to San Francisco. And, after a day of moving, you're already like, dude, I don't want to do that. Like, that's horrible. And it's one of your days off, or if not like the only day off specifically for me, because I work a lot with having your own business. So I was like, man, this is tough. So I do what any 32-year-old man does. I started problem solving. I started checking the environment. Is there some sort of entrance we don't know about, a secret passageway, knocking on doors, checking under rocks to find keys? I couldn't find anything, but there was one window that was slightly cracked open. And the thing with that window, it was probably like 12 feet off the ground. So actually not 12 feet. Let's say it was 10 feet off the ground. So I'm about 6'1". The window was like 4 feet higher than me, enough where I could stand on my tippy toes and push up on the windowsill to see that, I can move it, and I was able to basically push it open. And so what I figured was like, okay, I'm going to try to get into this window. So basically what I did, and keep in mind, I actually didn't even say this at the beginning of the story, I was also recovering from being sick earlier in that week. Ryan, I get sick a lot. I was sick. So I was not 100%. I was maybe working at 75% capacity. So anyways, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Basically what I did is I pulled myself up on the ledge, and I did like a modified muscle up where it's not enough to just pull yourself. I had to like internally rotate my shoulders, use my foot on the wall to kind of shove myself in there. And not only did I need the muscle strength and the muscle mass to do that, but I also needed pretty good hip mobility to be able to flex my hips in a tight enough position to get through the window, which I would like to acknowledge and state clearly that I actually did. So that was awesome. And it felt really good. I felt like a freaking hero. I felt like I saved the day. And I was amazed with what my body was capable of, even though I was sick. And it's kind of these little moments for me specifically, because I have been consistently strength and muscle building, I don't know, since like I was 16, right? Before basketball tryouts. And I've been doing it like, at least once a week for whatever, that's like almost 15, 16 years. And sometimes you forget that if you don't do that, you're not able to do certain things. Like if I wasn't strength training or building muscle, I would not have been able to pull myself up in that windowsill and open the door and, enjoy the rest of the day. And it's not really even about looking jacked or shredded. Because if you saw me do that without my shirt off, you wouldn't be like, damn, that guy is freaking jacked. Like you'd be like, that looks like a normal guy. But for some reason, he's got some strength. He's got a little bit of muscle. For me, it's just about what you're capable of doing when life demands it. Being able to help the people you care about, to show up for them, and not being limited by your body. So I think that that's a perfect example of muscle building for longevity. It's about those little moments. You got your nephew, you got your kid in one arm, and you're able to squat down and grab the groceries and get into the house. Just small things like that. Obviously, we love looking good, but to me, the magic is in those little moments. So that's my story. Ryan, I know you have kind of like a different perspective on why muscle matters, on longevity, or maybe like a different story here, which you were telling me before. So why don't we share it with the audience here?
Yeah, well, first of all, you definitely have that skill of climbing into windows, because I'm pretty sure several different places that I've lived, like the door has been locked and I'm away and you don't have a key and you somehow are able to get in through the window. So I don't know if my past places the window was so high, but you definitely have that skill, and maybe we can accredit it to the mobility that you have and the strength. So I was just thinking about that as you were telling the story. I'm like, this guy's definitely gone in through my windows as well. You know what I'm talking about? In the one in LA?
No, remind me. I mean, I feel like it sounds familiar. Oh, I
It's
think it
happened.
was was that when you were living by yourself in the
Mhm.
Sunset spot?
That one, and I'm pretty sure Gabby and I living together too,
That's funny.
but good skill to have. Actually, yeah, I have a similar story that involves moving as well. That has to do with the advantages of like strength training in relation to ability and longevity. So this was back in LA when my wife and I were just dating at the time, and we were moving in together. And so we were thinking about, okay, how are we going to do this move? And Gabby goes, oh, we can hire these movers. I've hired them in the past, and they have helped me move apartments in the past, and they're really cheap. It's a really good deal. So I'm like, awesome, sweet, hit them up and let's definitely hire them. Cheap movers, cool. What could go wrong? So the day of, we have everything boxed up and whatnot, and these two guys show up in what looks like a stolen U-Haul truck,
Okay.
just like really old. And already I'm like, what the hell is this? And then they come out and they just look like just kind of two just kind of schmoes, like just crackheads that you would find down in like Hollywood Boulevard. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And Gabby's like, oh, it has been a while since I've hired them. Maybe they have gotten into some extra curricular activities or drugs or whatnot, whatever. And so they come up and we're moving and we're packing up the U-Haul. And I'm like, these guys are not professional. Like they're just when they're how they're placing things, it just does not make sense. And so I'm helping them out at this point because I'm like, okay, I got to step in here. This is interesting. Let me step in. So I'm helping them out. Throughout the course of them moving stuff in, I could see them like, because now it's like hours, right? And I kind of see them like getting more and more tired and maybe even coming off of some stuff, and uh, now it's time to take down the couch, like a heavy couch. And again, they're already tired and whatnot, and so they try. Gabby lived on a second floor, and they're trying to bring this thing down, and it is just not going as planned. Like they're dropping the thing, and I'm
Damn.
like, oh my goodness. So I'm like, okay, let me step in here, and I take the side where I'm going down first, and both of them are on the other side pulling it up. And this is a really heavy couch. And now I'm at the point where it feels like I'm like deadlifting like 400 pounds because all of the weight is on me because I'm lower than them. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm dropping this thing. We are going to handle it because it's like we have a problem and this needs to be done. There's no other option here. We're just going to have to make this work. And I'm like, every muscle in my body is working, and we did get it in there. But thinking about like times that I'm thankful to be, strong, and I could really credit that to like all the squats that I, do and deadlifts and all that, and just working out. And so I'm like, thank God I was able to step in and help them out because we would have a real issue there. But just looking back, I always laugh at that story 'cause I'm like, what is going on? These two, like, I could have just hired friends at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, thankfully I, have years of strength training and take care of my body and have that strength to like step in because that would have sucked if I didn't have that.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And it's like you didn't plan for that. Like that day, you weren't like, okay, I think I'm gonna deadlift and walk backwards with the 400-pound couch in my
Hmm.
hands. You're like, yeah, you just dropped in. You didn't warm up. You didn't stretch.
Hmm.
Um, it seems like moving is a big thing when it comes to people realizing the limits of their bodies, or, you know, how strong they actually are, which is pretty interesting that both of our stories ended up with like a moving story. But yeah, you freaking saved the day, dude. And that's like a common thing. I feel like I've had a lot of clients or people who are starting to work with us. They're like, oh yeah, I threw my back out helping a friend move, or like my rotator cuff is busted, or my knees hurt moving a couch down the stairs. I mean, that's super common. And yeah, like when you went to bed that night, were you like stoked to be able to like, okay, I'm glad that I was here, because if you weren't, you know, your furniture could have gone messed up. I mean, who knows? Those guys sounded like they were just going to leave once they got tired or came down from their high too.
They were like asking like, "Hey, can I take this? Do you guys
Yeah.
want this?" I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's tough.
But yeah, no, I look back and I'm like, oh, thank God I was able to help, and I can laugh at that. And you're right, you know, I was able to do that and not throw out my back, which is amazing. And I hear similar stories too of our clients. You know, they'll say like, oh, I finished a round of golf without lower back pain, and I'm really stoked on that. You know, just things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love those ones. I had a client recently talk about how he was able to do like hack squats without pain, or even talk about how, you know, he had a pretty consistent like lower back ache for months, and he's a pretty active guy. And he was like, yeah, I mean, this week I just haven't even thought about it, or there are moments where I don't even think about it. And that's how it should be. And the primary intervention had to do with some sort of muscle building. And the cool thing about muscle building, it's like, it's not necessarily about doing bicep curls or squatting heavy all the time. Sometimes it's those little stabilizers that you need to build up, whether that be, you know, like your glute med or your transverse abdominis, like small core stabilizers, or just muscles we don't necessarily think about or even know exist, that make a giant difference. So yeah, those are great stories, and I love starting it out with some stories. It's like, you know, bringing the human element, but I also love the studies, just to kind of back up the stories and like the actual importance of having muscle as you age. So, study time. The title of this study is called "The Association Between Muscular Strength and Mortality in Men and Women: A Systemic Review and Meta-Analysis." All right, so this is a massive meta-analysis, and the meta-analysis are the gold standard of scientific studies. Basically, they take other scientific studies and they put them all together, and then they do some stats magic, and they come out with some conclusions or some interesting observations. So typically, you'll have a giant sample size of participants. This one particularly, they looked at 38 different studies with almost 2 million participants. So not something small, literally 2 million people. So this is as solid as it gets when it comes to research. They measured basically looking at two things: hand grip strength and knee extension strength. So hand grip strength is pretty simple. Like when you're carrying your groceries in, that's the grip. That's hand grip strength. You need to be able to carry them successfully. Knee extension strength. Knee extension just means when you open up or straighten your leg or your knee. So if you think about the straight leg machine, or the what do they call it at the gym? Like I always call that machine knee extension, the knee extension machine, but the people call it something else. They call it like leg extension machine, right?
Yeah, even I always say leg extension.
Yeah, which to me, when I
The
think of
movement
leg,
is literally knee. Yeah, it's knee
yeah,
extension. Yeah, you're right. I've always just called it leg extension. Yeah.
because that's what the manufacturer calls it. And to me, when I think of leg extension, I think of hip extension. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always call it knee extension. Anyway, so knee extension, like if you think about the leg extension machine where you're opening up your knee, straightening the knee, and then bringing it back down. And when you straighten out the knee, you're moving it against some sort of weight. So basically upper body and lower body strength. And then they track these people over time to see who lived longer. What they found was pretty freaking wild. People with higher hand grip strength had a 31% lower risk of death compared to the people with lower grip strength. So basically, if you have been training consistently and your grip strength scales with your strength and muscle building, you're going to live 31% longer or sorry, you have a 31% lower chance of death than, let's say, if you had a twin that didn't do any of that, which is pretty huge. But what gets even more interesting is the effect was actually stronger in women. So women with higher grip strength had a 40% lower risk of death. Men had a 31% lower risk. So the women had 9% better outcomes. Both massive, but women seem to benefit even more from having good muscular strength than men, which kind of makes sense because I feel like, I mean, things are changing now, but if we even think about our parents' generation, like how many people, women, your mom's age, Ryan, do you know that consistently do any type of strength training?
It's changed now. It's definitely increased, but I know what you mean. Maybe even the generation before, like less and less. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, thinking about like my huge Persian family and even just other non-Persians that I know, and the women that I know that fall into that category, like let's say 50 plus, honestly, it's pretty. I can't think. I can probably name like 5 people on my hand in a sample size of like at least 100. So it makes sense. Like women should definitely be strength training. It's huge. Going back to the lower body strength stuff, which was measured by the knee extension, people with higher strength at the legs had a 14% lower risk of death. So not as big as the hand grip stuff, but definitely pretty significant. You may be asking, why does this even matter? Well, you have to kind of consider what these tests are actually measuring. The hand grip strength isn't just about the grip, right? Like people with higher grip strength, they don't get higher grip strength because they're just doing like wrist curls all day. They're doing deadlifts. They're carrying things. They're active. They're gardening, whatever. It's a measure of your overall upper body strength and even your core strength. If your grip is strong, chances are the rest of you is pretty strong too. And knee extension is literally your ability to stand up from a chair, walk upstairs, get off the ground. So these are basically representations of fundamental human movement. And what the authors of the meta-analysis said when it came to like the mechanism behind how it lowers your risk of death by 31, 40%, etc., was a couple things. Basically, muscle mass itself is metabolically active. It helps regulate blood sugar and improves your insulin sensitivity. So that's something that isn't necessarily related to, you know, sneaking into windows or helping crackheads move couches. Has something to do with the inside of your body. How do you metabolize sugar and food and things like that? Stronger people are more resilient to injury and recover faster when they get injured. That's a big one. Muscle mass protects you during illness. If you get sick and can't eat, having muscle mass gives you reserves and you're not rotting away. And a lot of people realize that during COVID, like when you would be on ventilators or be super sick at home and you can't move, like it's really hard to eat. And sometimes it's hard to eat because you're under, right? Strength allows you to stay active and independent as you age. So that's a big part of living longer, right? So if you feel like you're capable of getting up out of bed, going outside, gardening, doing fun things, that's going to make you live longer because A, you're being active, which is great for you, and B, you have a sense of purpose to live anyways, you know? And then lastly, the biggest one, being strong reduces your risk of falls, which is one of the leading causes of death in older adults. I don't know what the stat is, but Peter Attia talks about this all the time. Basically, like, if you're over the age of like 60 or 65 and you fall and break your hip and you have to get surgery for it, you will probably die in the next 5 years. Like based on the stats,
chances are high. Yeah.
They're really, really high because if you fall and break a hip, that means your bones are super brittle, like you haven't been strength training. So your bones are super brittle. The recovery process is so long that you're bedridden. So you lose more muscle and your bones become even less and less strong. And it's really hard to bounce back from that, especially as you age. So you have to start working on not breaking your hip now, like at 30, you know? So practically, the researchers specifically noted that muscular strength tests are easy to perform and can identify people with an increased risk of mortality, which it actually is. You can buy a hand grip dynamometer, which tells you how strong you are on Amazon for like $10. What they're saying is if you can't do basic strength tests well, you're at a higher risk. But honestly, the good news is strength and muscle building is trainable, even if you are like 80 years old, literally any age. And I remember working at the physical therapy clinic. One particular patient always kind of comes to mind. It was this lady. She was probably in her late 70s and she had Alzheimer's. And she would come in with her nurse. And at the start of the sessions, she wouldn't, and we would work together twice a week. And it was the same physical therapist, and I was the physical therapy aide. So I would see her twice a week for like 8 weeks straight. Every single time, except for the last couple weeks, she would come in and she wouldn't remember me. So I'd have to introduce myself and just be like, yeah, I'm a physical therapy aide. I'm helping, da, 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 da. It was kind of cute. A little weird because like one of my first times with that, with someone that had some sort of age-related dementia, Alzheimer's. And then we would start working out. Simple stuff, planks, squats, dead bugs, elevated push-ups. And after like 30 minutes, she was like a brand new person. It was crazy. Super energized, remembered my name, super excited. It's like, hey, I'll see you on Thursday. Like understood where she was. And not only does that muscle building or exercise help you with the risks and the falls, but there's a lot of things that happen in the brain, a lot of hormones and neurochemicals that are released when you exercise, specifically only when it comes to muscle building, that helps with that cognition. So yeah, you need to be building muscle, and it's never too late to start. So just start. And speaking of starting and beginning, I feel like that's kind of our bread and butter when it comes to our clients, right, Ryan? Like most people who work with us are beginners or they're starting over again. So what's your process when it comes to working with beginners who want to build muscle?
Yeah, so there's several things when it comes to programming for beginners, or if it's been a while, when it comes to building strength. So number one, it'd be a good idea to focus on what's called compound lifts. And compound lifts just means like working multiple muscles and multiple joints at the same time. So think of the big lifts. So we have squats. Squats are working your hips and your knees, your quads, a little bit of hamstrings and glutes and your core. Think of lunges, think of push-ups. I'll kind of also list them out. So lower body compound lifts, we have squats, we have a hinge. So a hinge, think of like a Romanian deadlift or a deadlift or a single leg deadlift. We have a lunge or a split squat, so like a single leg exercise. And then upper body, we have pushing and pulling essentially. So we have vertical and horizontal pushing and pulling. So a vertical push would be like a shoulder press. A horizontal push would be like a bench press or a push-up. And then pulling, we have horizontal and vertical as well. So vertical would be like a lat pull down. A horizontal would be like a cable row. So that would be the first thing to focus on, just compound lifts, and really try to get those, try to get stronger and stronger at them. So that would be like the next point, progressive overload. So as you pick and choose your exercises, you're going to want to repeat them every week and just try to get stronger and stronger at them. So as you get stronger, it'd be a good idea to increase the demand. And what I usually do with a lot of clients, and specifically kind of newer ones, is I set a rep range. So I'll say week one, we're going to do 3 sets of 10 to 12 of these exercises. If you are able to consistently get that 3 sets of 12, and your form is good, your technique is good, that is an indication of next week, let's try to go a little bit heavier. Next week, when you go heavier, you're like, oh crap, I can't do that 12 because our rep range is 10 to 12. I can do 3 sets of 10. Sweet. Stay at that weight, 3 sets of 10, and then next week, try to get 3 sets of 12 at that new weight. That is a really good way to implement that progressive overload when it comes to strength training. Some other tips is, at first, really, really prioritize that technique and form. Honestly, put that first and foremost. You could even put that into, it is a form of progressive overload, is every week, if your form and technique is improving over time, hey, thumbs up, you are getting stronger. So place that in the beginning. If you're a beginner, really focus on that form and technique And tempo too. That's another thing I see people doing wrong, like in the gym. You can kind of spot a beginner if their tempo is kind of different every single rep. If all 12 reps in a set just looks like completely different, like tempo, one rep you're going like 3 seconds down, the next one is just a free fall. Like try to really systematize that and make every rep look the same. That's a tip that I give too. So we have compound lifts. I usually set people up with full body workouts. So full body workouts are really cool because you can hit all of the muscle groups often per week, and you can hit them multiple times per week. And that's another thing that I tell people starting out is think of these exercises like you're learning a skill or a new language. And if you practice that same skill Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as a beginner, that is going to really help your learning these exercises, aka getting stronger, compared to only doing them once a week. If you're only squatting once a week as a beginner, it's not going to be as efficient in learning these exercises and getting stronger at them. So we have compound lifts, full body workout, prioritize form and technique, progressive overload, and then how I usually set up. You could do it many different ways. There's so many programs out there, but what I like to do is a good kind of as a general rule. I love full body workouts Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then take a rest day Tuesday and Thursday. And that rest day, you could also get your cardio sessions in, which we talked about on the last podcast. But that is a really good setup there. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, full body lifts, focus on the compound exercises, rest and recover on Tuesday and Thursday, and then you should be good.
Hell yeah, dude. Love that. I especially love the think about it as you're learning a new language or you're learning a new skill, because it truly is that, and you're ideally going to be doing it for the rest of your life. And it actually made me think of a great business idea. We should make a fitness app like Duolingo. So to get the streaks going every day, you do a little 1 or 2 exercise you're working on, kind of like playing into Grease the Groove. Mm-hmm. Pull up, squat. Just pick one exercise every day, 3 sets, 8 reps, and take it slow. I think, yeah, tempo is not touched enough when it comes to like the shit that you see on social media. People go way too fast with their reps. I am a big I'm being a hypocrite because sometimes I do like just crank them out. But recently I've been doing a lot of eccentric, slow reps, and they feel amazing. They feel really good. And there's a lot of research to show that going slow is really great for your tendons. Not only does it protect them, but it kind of increases collagen synthesis inside of the tendon, which helps rebuild them. So if you're dealing with pain, so that's huge. And I think a big issue that people run into when it comes to starting muscle building or strength training is that they're pretty busy. So they only have 30 to 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times per week, maybe even like twice a week. And I just want to be upfront with you. That's more than enough time to build muscle as a beginner, or if you're someone that's returning back to building muscle. Like you said, Ryan, you like to start people out with full body, right? So even if you're doing like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday and Wednesday, and you're hitting all those muscle groups, you're going to be totally fine and you're going to build muscle. I am in a phase of life where I am relatively busy, so I feel like I'm pretty good at talking about, getting your workouts in as someone that is busy. So I'll just tell you kind of what I've been doing, and maybe you can get some tips from that, and then also just some additional stuff. So the biggest hack for me has been working out at home. So I have a very minimalist setup at home. Ryan and my other best friend Ari actually bought me a weighted vest. So I have a weighted vest, I have a pull-up bar, I have 2 adjustable dumbbells and an adjustable bench and some mini bands and a couple kettlebells. That's all I got. And what I just do is I do 45 minutes. And sometimes they're a little bit longer, but usually it's just a 45-minute workout and they're full body. And I like to stack my exercises into supersets. So I'll have my dynamic warm-up, just loosen things up, get things nice and warm. Movement prep, so whatever injury I'm dealing with or weak spots, Could be rotator cuff stuff, could be wall sits for my knees, could be ankle stuff. I'll do about 2 sets of that, and then I go into the main body of the lift, and I'll do 1 to 90 second rest. Sometimes 1 if I don't have enough time, but if I do have at least an hour, I'll get that 90 seconds in. And what I do is I do an upper body and a lower body. So I'll do let's say I'll do my weighted push-ups, and then I'll do a goblet squat. And I rest for a minute. It's not the most optimal scientific way to build muscle, because ideally you would be resting 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. Actually 3 minutes, 5 minutes is a lot. 3 minutes in between sets and doing one exercise at a time. But if you're busy and you're a beginner, it's totally okay. We're not trying to be perfect here. We're just trying to get the fucking thing done. That's the biggest thing. And so for me, what that means is I have a slot. Usually it's from like 8 a.m. to 9:30 to have breakfast, to work out. And for me, because I'm working at home, during my rest times, I'm doing chores. So I'll set my 90-second timer. I'll run down, start the laundry. I'll clean shit up around the house. I'll do some dishes. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I find that helps me a lot, because I get chores done, I prep breakfast, and as soon as I'm done with my workouts, boom, I'm right in. So supersets, circuits, having access to equipment is going to be great for busy people, and keeping it full body. I strength train 2 to 3 times a week. That's it. And I've been making great progress. And that's kind of going into that minimum effective dose, right? So you don't necessarily need so much stimulus, so many sets, so much volume. Basically, you want to try to get anywhere between, I would say, 12 to 20 working sets per muscle group. And working sets is something that's challenging you. And you can, if you're a beginner, you can be at that 12, sometimes even like 8 sets to get the necessary stimulus. And that's basically it. So again, I think the biggest thing when it comes to beginners, pick a program, just do the program. If you want a good starting place, we have a beginner muscle building routine in the Longevity app. I actually just posted about it yesterday. It was a parent's post. That's a great program. It's 12 weeks. It's going to really help. Get that free trial. You have access to it for 30 days. And honestly, here's a little secret. You can just screenshot the other weeks, and we won't be mad. But I don't think a lot of people are going to do that, because we're 36 minutes into the podcast, so there's probably like 5 people listening to this. So you can screenshot because you're a true fan. And we're back. So just do that, honestly. That's a great program. And diving into some of the, Ryan, I don't know, do you want to talk about some of the advanced muscle building stuff? Like, I know you've been doing some cool exercises you've been posting on Instagram. What have you been messing around with when it comes to the advanced stuff?
Yeah, first of all, I want to also clarify too, because you bring up a good point. Like I said, full body lifts are great for beginners. What I don't mean is that it's only for beginners. You know, you're doing full body. I was just doing a full body program, like, I don't know, 2 months ago. I just got done with like full body lifts, so it is not just for beginners. So I just want to like clarify that. It is a great way to start, but you know, I've done it too, and you're doing it now as well. So just putting that out there. But yeah, so let's also define what we mean by like advanced methods and advanced muscle building. What we mean by that is, let's take somebody that is 2 to 3 years of real consistency. Like you've been lifting for 2 to 3 years, just really consistent, really dialed in. You feel like you know what you've been doing. You are maybe at the point where your strength has plateaued, like your lifts aren't going up, and you just feel kind of stuck, but you have been consistent for at least like 2 to 3 years. So let's put that out there. So,
yeah, and that's, sorry to interrupt you. And also you've been seeing progress with muscle. Like you've noticed that you've put on lean muscle mass, and that truly is hard to do consistently for 2 to 3 years. I feel like a lot of people think that they're advanced, but actually they're not. Like they'll work out for like 6 months, and then they'll take like 2 months off. You take 2 months off, you're back to beginner, and not in a derogatory way. Like it's totally fine, but understand that being classified as an advanced lifter is 2 to 3 years of serious commitment, and you're seeing the results. So you've plateaued and you've put on a good amount of muscle.
Even me too, like, you and I have been lifting since we were like 15 or 16, right? I let's take COVID for example, when gyms were shut down and I wasn't lifting for a couple months. I went I went when I got back in the gym, I did a beginner's program. You know what I mean? There's been plenty of times that I have considered myself a beginner or a beginner slash intermediate. You know what I mean? And there's other times in my lifting, let's say, career, I have been at that advanced point where I've just been like just on it, consistent for like a couple years, and I'm like, now's the time to throw in these advanced techniques and whatnot. So yeah, that's a good point. But some of the methods that I will put clients through that are super consistent, doing everything I'm telling, and they've been working with us for a couple years, or they've been doing their own thing for a couple years. So again, first thing, sometimes you have to go back to the basics. So I'll look at form and technique, and I'll look at their big lifts and see kind of where they're at. And I will throw in some tempo changes. So let's add a pause at the bottom of their squat. Let's make it harder in the hardest position as it is. Strip weight back just a little bit and really dial in that bottom part of the squat in this example. And let's stick with that for about a month, and let's go heavier every week by keeping that pause in. And then you take away that pause and you'll see your lift, it feels a lot better. And we could progress from there. The next thing that I'll do after that pause is we will implement some extended eccentrics. So let's now go like 6 seconds down. Let's keep with the same example of the squat, 6 seconds lowering. And that's going to do some pretty, it's going to be pretty intense, but it's the next form of that progression from the pause. Then going into the eccentrics, we took away the pause. Then after that, maybe let's do 1 1/4 reps. So 1 1/4 rep would be go all the way down, a quarter of the way up, down, and then all the way up. And then now we're at 3 months of doing these tempo changes. Now we take it away and we go back, and boom, what happens? Your form and your technique looks so much better. And now we can get back to kind of like a normal tempo, like 3 seconds down, no pause at the bottom, and just go heavier every week. And you'll see a lot of the times we're getting stronger, and we put on a lot more muscle, and progress is happening again. So just some subtle tempo changes there. Another trick that we can do is if there is like some sort of muscle that is kind of lagging and you want to like bring up a certain muscle group or something, we could implement agonist supersets. So that is pairing like the same muscle group back to back. And you could do that with minimal rest. So let's take, it's hard to do it in a commercial gym, but what I've done with clients that have like an apartment gym or a home gym, you can do a squat and then a leg extension right after, boom, back to back. If your quads are underdeveloped or they're not feeling as strong, or we need to increase, a specific muscle group. You could do RDLs in a leg curl, for example. So that is called agonist supersets, pairing them back to back. Another thing too is just looking and making sure we are actually getting close to that muscle failure. And this again is specific for that somebody who has been really consistent, because I think it's less of an issue, especially as beginners, looking for that complete muscle failure. There's a whole thing on like social media that you'll see other trainers would be like, you have to get to muscle failure. And I actually disagree with that, especially when it comes to beginners. Again, prioritize that form, that technique, try to go heavier every week and stuff like that. But when you are a lot more advanced and you're trying to take it to that next level, okay, let me look at your form and technique, send in your videos, and let me see like, dude, you had like three more reps in the tank that you can push out there. And so that'd be the next thing that I look at. Another thing too is just smart programming. A lot of the times, there are so many errors that you could do when it comes to programming. One thing that I see a lot of people doing is like program hopping. They're just like, oh, I get bored of this workout plan after a week. And then you just go to the next plan, and that is really, really hindering your progress. If you just stuck with the same plan for 4 to 6 weeks and then only subtle variations going to the next phase of your program, you are actually going to be able to get stronger. It's that we could use the same metaphor as learning a language. Imagine being like, I'm going to do German this week, I'm going to do Spanish next week. Like, that's just not how it works. So it's just like, it's like nails on a chalkboard when I hear people being like, I need more variation. Like, I just get really bored with my program. It's like, are results boring? Like, no, results are so awesome and it's so motivating. So that would be something that I look at too, just looking at your program. An advanced form of, we call it periodization, that I'll do with advanced clients is something called undulating periodization. I don't know how deep I want to get into the weeds of everything, but just as an example, what undulating periodization is, I love talking about it though. Phase one is going to be more hypertrophy, where reps are kind of more like, let's say 8 to 10 or 10 to 12. Then we go directly into phase two, which would be a strength. So reps are a little bit lower. Let's say, in this example, let's say 4 to 6. Then we're going to go back to hypertrophy, but a little bit lower, let's say 8 to 10, and then back to strength, and now we're peaking strength, let's say 3 to 5 reps. And so what that does, it's really cool, is we're going back and forth and making sure that one modality isn't being detrained. So we have strength, and then we have muscle mass. We have strength, muscle mass, strength, muscle mass. And I've seen really, really good results from doing that. Again, it takes really kind of knowing what you're doing to kind of set that up, but it's one of my favorite methods. Another thing that we can do is just making sure that not only are you increasing like difficulty as we go with, in terms of like loading the bar heavier, also looking at your volume too. So maybe you have somebody that's only been doing 3 sets of 10 to 12 for a long time, and they're like, I'm stuck. I want more results. All right. It depends on a lot of different factors, but one thing that is a good idea sometimes is increasing the volume. So maybe going 4 sets of 10 to 12, and then down the line 5 sets. And I've had a client do, up to 7 sets of just front squats and another exercise. So that is called being more specific. Because when you're a beginner, you can do 3 sets of this and that and have a bunch of different variety. But then as you progress, we want to think about getting more specific with your lifts. So those are, some of the advanced kind of techniques that I will look at when looking at an athlete's program design and whatnot.
Hell yeah. I mean, it's such a deep world, with advanced muscle building stuff, advanced strength stuff, and you can really get lost in it, and it becomes an art, and it almost is like jazz. Once you get the fundamentals down, you can kind of mess around with a ton of variables and turn it into something super fun. And for people that are curious, like beginners, a couple things which I don't think we even clarified, but I wanted to clarify, like came up when you were diving into the advanced stuff. Like when you say set, and when I say like, okay, 7 to 12 sets as a beginner, and you're like, if you're an advanced, you want to do more like 10 to 20 sets, we're talking about working sets, which means that you're at a weight that is pretty challenging. My definition of a working set is, let's say like Coach Ryan has you doing 3 sets of 8 reps goblet squat. When you hit that 8th rep, you know that it's a working set if you maybe can do 1 or 2 more. Would you agree with that, or how do you like to explain working
Keep
sets?
it super simple. Just make it challenging. Don't make it a warm-up set. I would say that. You have warm-up sets, and then you have actual working sets. Working sets are going to be really challenging, as very, very simply set. I would just say that.
Yeah, because when I was first starting out, or when I would read other people's programs, I'm like, okay, so all I have to do is 3 sets of bench press, 3 sets of squats, 3 sets of shoulder press, and 3 sets of reverse lunges, and that's it. Like, that's not going to take me very long, and I'm not going to be tired. And that's what I would do. But basically, 2 of those sets for me were warm-up sets, and I would do 1 actual working set. When I realized what a working set was, I would then probably do 2 to 3 warm-up sets, and then I would do my 3 really challenging sets, and then with 4 exercises, you're freaking gassed, like you're toast after that. So something to think about. And then just moving on to some lifestyle stuff, so things outside of the gym that are really going to help you build muscle. I think the biggest lowest hanging fruit is honestly going to be your nutrition and what you do in the bedroom, but not the sexy stuff. I'll have Ryan talk about the bedroom stuff because he's really good at sleeping. I'm not that great at it. But basically, the biggest thing when it comes to nutrition, make sure you're getting enough protein. Simply put, 1 to 2 fistfuls of some sort of lean protein or protein source per meal, which translates roughly to 20 to 40 grams of protein per meal. That's a good starting point. If you want to get really technical with it, anywhere from 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per, not body weight, target body weight. This is something that I've learned in the last few years. Like everyone's like, okay, yeah, 1 gram per body weight. But if you're someone that is very overweight, there's no way that you can consume like 300 grams of protein without being very constipated. So think about like a target body weight or something of a healthy BMI. Obviously, it's not perfect, but think about that as your target for macronutrients. My favorite lean protein sources recently, I've been crushing Greek yogurt like nobody's business. This isn't very lean, but I like it as my protein source. When it comes to chicken, I'll do chicken thighs. It's okay. Live a little. Ground chicken, ground turkey. Those are really good. Those can be lean. And if you spice it up with some sort of sauce, it's great. And then, fish, things like that, tofu. And the biggest thing is just make it tasty. And again, use that fistful, 1 to 2 fistfuls. 1 if you're on the lighter side, 2 to 3 if you're a bigger individual. Hit me with some of your sleep tips, brother.
Yeah, so with sleep, again, the reason why we're even talking about nutrition and sleep in regards to this podcast is you need to recover from your workouts. You need to lower your stress because at the end of the day, working out and exercising is a stressor on your body. It's a good stress. But if you are somebody that is consistently stressed with outside stuff, whether it be work or family or whatever, just think we're going to overdo it and we're not going to be able to get the desired outcome because your system is all jacked up and you're not giving it the opportunity to rest and recover and get the desired outcomes from your exercise. So that's why we're talking about nutrition and sleep in this regard and stress management. So first thing I would say first in regards to sleep is take it serious. So take your sleep seriously, like treat it as an actual part of your workout plan. So if you are not getting quality sleep, we're not going to get as good as results as we want because we're not recovering. So take it serious. What I recommend doing is like turning off your lights, like wherever you are, like an hour ahead of your scheduled bedtime or when you want to go to bed. Like start thinking about sleep an hour before you actually go to bed. Just an example. So turn off your lights. I would say get off of your phone or just reduce the time, like stop doom scrolling. Like I think that's the worst thing that you can do for sleep is like being on Instagram or TikTok, like right before bed. Like you are just jacking your mind up in your brain right before bed, and there's so much dopamine going in and like triggering things and rage bait on Instagram and like TikTok. So like I would say probably not the best thing to do. So get off your phone. And then the next thing is I always laugh because my mom and sister call it pre-bed. They said I'm pre-bed. So like, and Milad, you remember this from like living together in college. I would always be like, I'm going to bed. And it would be kind of early and I would just like go in my bed and it's like pre-bed, whether it be like you're reading a book or you just like give yourself some time to like relax before your actual bedtime. So I would say adopt what my mom and sister called pre-bed. And what that would be is, again, just like kind of relaxing a little bit before your bedtime. And a good idea too, my next thing is you should try out some breath work or meditation. Some people get really scared when you use that word meditation. So recently I've been saying just breath work and like maybe mindfulness. I don't know why people are like scared of meditation, but it's really not that intimidating. It's not like some huge foo-foo thing. It can be as simple as just like looking on YouTube and just typing in breath work. There's some really good ones out there. One modality that I use and have been using for I think like 6 months now is Awaken. So Awaken. It's a really good app. It's these two Australian people, and they just do really good breath work and like visualization work. And I always feel like just amazing after doing a breathwork session from them. So look that up, Awaken, or whatever, any breathwork you want to do. Meditate, journal. So what I do is before bed, just to like kind of put my thoughts down on paper and just like relax at the end of the day. I have a set up like journal entry that I'll do. I have my prompts. It's the same every day. It's what did you do today? What was the favorite part of your day? What were you thinking about today? What are you proud of today? What could you have done better today? What are you grateful for? What are you looking forward to tomorrow? Say a prayer for somebody, and then just brain dump. And a brain dump is literally just whatever comes to my brain. I'm just like getting it out on paper. After I do all those things, I have my lights off. I'm not on my phone scrolling, doom scrolling. I do my breath work, and then I put all of my thoughts on paper. I'm like, okay, the day is done. The day is done, and now I can kind of like calmly like just go to bed. So those are my tips and tricks for sleep. I know sleep is one of those things where it's like you only have so much control over, but focus on the things that you can control. Try to get positive habits when it comes to sleep, and you are therefore going to recover more from your strength training sessions, and you'll have a better time gaining that muscle.
Solid tips. I'm gonna download that Awaken app, and to know what you shouldn't do when it comes to sleep is don't fall asleep watching YouTube videos on the couch, which is kind of my routine. Not recently, but that's kind of what I've been doing, and I've been getting better at my sleep hygiene, but there's still a lot of work. I think the mindset is like, ah, man, like I'm so tired by the time I get home that I don't want to go on this whole like, nighttime routine. I'm great at my morning routine, but the nighttime routine's not there. So I think honestly that breath work is going to be great. Putting the electronics away, which I do with my phone. I have this box. It's like a lock. It's a lock. Put it in there. It helps a lot, honestly. Not just for sleep. We're not sponsored, but it's pretty cool. And I'm gonna try the app. So I think biggest thing when it comes to building muscle is understand that it's not just about looking freaking sexy. Sexiness is a byproduct of being functional, having a sweet, clear, cognitively awesome mind, and helping people move and sneaking in through windows. Focus on process, not the outcome. It's not about being perfect. It's just about being consistent and showing up. That's the biggest thing. And then once you do that for 2 years, you can do really fun, advanced things. Focus on getting your protein and getting good sleep. That's basically it. We have a ton of beginner muscle building stuff on the Longevity app. Link in the description, 30-day free trial. We do one-on-one coaching. Mr. Coach Ryan is available to coach you. One of the best minds in the game. And not just saying that. So if you are just starting out or restarting, we have a ton of testimonials on our website, so go check that out. The one-on-one coaching application is down below. And let's close it off. You were talking about prayers. Who did you say a prayer for today, this morning?
Well, I'll do it in the evening, but
sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Last night.
It's okay. Hey, listen, it's okay. Last night, I prayed for our friend Evan, just making, he was just in my head, just hoping he's doing good. That's who I prayed for last night.
Hell yeah. Love that. Yeah, I've been thinking about him too. And, have him in the thoughts and just manifesting good vibes. So I like that one. And I have been thinking about praying for the people of Iran. They are on the midst of a revolution. They're being, murdered by a tyrannical government, and they're going through it, and it's being led by young people, like teenagers, 14-year-old girls. It's super inspiring to see, honestly, and trying my best to support, my people as best as I can. And they're in the prayers in addition to all the family and stuff. So there's a lot of people going through it, and I love the practice of keeping people in prayers. I always tell my mom, like, if someone is going through something, I tell my mom about it, and I tell her to pray because she's religious, but she's just like a very like a pure soul in my perspective. And I think that helps. Like there's something that helps in the universe. So yeah, like pray for people, send the good vibes, and don't forget to build some muscle. See you on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.